Hi again. I disappeared for a little bit. Yeah, I kind of put a lot on my plate at once, and it kind of led to me not doing much on my Instagram and this. So now I'm back, and not much has changed. I've grown a beard, the patchiest thing you'll ever see, but yeah, let's talk about this video. This video is actually a little bit different from what I usually do, but I feel like it will be equally, if not more interesting.
Got soup.
So a couple of weeks ago, I just completed, fully completed, my first ever short film that I myself wrote and directed. A cool line. And this video today will simultaneously be my story of how I made my film and kind of the general filmmaking process of short films, obviously, because I haven't made a feature film just yet. I first wrote this script last year for my university course. So I went to a film course at a university, and the way they let us make our films was we all came up with an idea, each and every single student. We all pitched it to the teachers and told them this idea in detail, from start to finish, didn't leave anything out. And then from there, the teachers would get together and decide which film they wanted to be made. And from there, the film ideas that got picked, the students that came up with the idea would become the director of that film. I hope that made sense. So I went through all this effort, I wrote about 3-4 scripts and got as much feedback as I could because I really wanted the teachers to pick me as director, really wanted to. I even told, everyone knew how bad I wanted to be director, including the teachers that picked, the directors. And then I didn't get picked as director. When I look back on it though, I kinda am glad I got rejected because I really took advantage of being on as many films as I could. So if I had the director role, I think I would have been on maybe 2 films max, but without it, I was on 5. And being on these 5 separate films, it really helped me improve in basically all facets of my filmmaking capabilities because I learned so much and I observed so much more than just being on one film that I could have directed. Fast track to the start of 2021, my uni course is finished and my main focus is making this very film. 2 weeks after finishing my course, I was talking to a good friend of mine, telling him how I didn't really know where to take this film and how to get it off the ground. He then said to me that a friend of his that I had met before was part of a small film production crew that was created by a bunch of him and his friends that went to the same uni I went to. I then sent him a text asking if it was cool that I could make my film with his crew. He said yes, he was happy to be a part of the film, and then he forwarded me on to one of the more producer types of his group. After that, I had a meeting with the producer in person, and then the film was officially gonna be made. I was trying to think of a fancy word there, but I'm not smart enough for that. Production, that's the word! This part of the film is actually where everything gets really stressful because you constantly get told, I don't know if we can make this film, especially in these times. There isn't really too much to talk about in pre-production because mainly the process of pre-production is just getting all the forms together, having meetings with your head of crew, head of departments, so the producer, cinematographer, probably gaffer, and making sure everything is kind of crystal clear and everyone knows what they'll be doing in the film. This period though, it's actually really good, especially for a director, to really refine your ideas and make sure the crew know what they're doing. And it's also really good to get feedback for your ideas and kind of include some of their ideas as well. So once you've got the script about 95% finished, I'd say, you send it off to the producer and they get the audition sorted. Now that you've got your idea fully flushed out, actors are chosen, shot design is ready, forms are complete, you are now ready to complete your film. I made that sound so easy, but oh my god, it is not that easy. Shooting the film is easily the best but most stressful part of the filmmaking process. Since this was my first time directing, I had next to no idea what I was doing, so I just kept going with the flow. Ask me how I'm doing.
How you doing?
I am freaking out.
You're alright, it's fine.
The beginning of shooting actually started with a few hiccups, and this made me so much more nervous than I already was. The DOP actually had an issue with the equipment guys picking up some of the lighting and whatnot, so he ended up being half an hour late. This was actually pretty manageable because we just set up the rest of the lights without him, because basically we knew where they were going to go anyway. Then once the DOP finally got there, he realised that the rental guys gave us the wrong lens mount. You don't want a refund. Refund all this shit. That camera's the one. So then because of that mistake, the camera equipment guys had to come to the set and actually give us the right lens mount, and I don't even remember how much that put us behind. So while this whole calamity was going on, the actors had arrived, and I basically just spent all my time focusing on them, trying to tell them the nuances of the script and the emotion and kind of how the lines will go back and forth. I was mainly doing this as well to just distract myself from the entire problems that were going on at the very start of the shoot. And then it was time to start the first shot. So basically, my script, a whole half of it is just one conversation. So we had to do that whole conversation, like play it all the way through each time we had a take and each time we had a different shot. And each of them took about 5 minutes each, so it took forever. One thing that I did learn during the shoot is to actually just be very decisive. Don't be if or but with a lot of things. Just make your mind up and stick with it. Another thing I tried to focus on was staying really on schedule and not going too far behind. This is really important to keep the energy levels up on the cast and crew, unless you're Stanley Kubrick and your aim is to mentally break everyone on set. My shoot was actually meant to finish at 3 AM, but I really did not want everyone staying there at that time, just so they weren't too exhausted because we still had another shoot for the next day.
Yeah, get out of my house.
So I really pushed and I really had to sacrifice some shots and a lot of takes to finish at 1 AM, which was, I felt, an appropriate time given how long we were actually shooting for.
Get everyone ready to go.
I'm just a humble sound.
I am.
Do it better.
Okay, actors in position.
To put this bluntly, post-production can either make or break your film. There is no in between. So the first thing you want to do after shooting your film is create backups. I already have one horror story of losing all my files and I never want to go through it again. So once all your files are backed up, send it to your editor. Or just edit it yourself, whatever you want to do. So the first step for your editor is to build an assembly edit, which is every shot and every take in one timeline in order of lines from the script. From here, your editor will make the first rough cut, and don't worry if it's terrible, first rough cuts are always terrible. After the first rough cut, I basically had weekly meetings with my editor discussing timing of the edit, flow of the cuts, and overall working to improve the film. After about 3 weeks of editing, I gave it the thumbs up and was ready for picture lock. So a picture lock is when basically all the visual cuts and timing are set, you cannot change it. This is so when we give it to the composer and the colorist, they don't have to worry about anything changing while they're working. So they don't have to change anything themselves afterwards. This is sort of similar to the process of editing, it's just constant meetings that are overall working towards the benefit of the film. Now we've reached where I am currently at now, and that is the film festival submissions. This part of filmmaking is the most daunting, exciting, and depressing part all at the same time. I say that because film festival selections are sort of similar to what I was saying earlier about the teachers picking directors. You submit your film, they review it, and I'm guessing, I haven't really got one yet, but I'm guessing they send you an email back saying whether you've been successful and your film is going to be screened, or whether you've been unsuccessful and they just take your money and leave you, doesn't really matter. But from here, I'll be putting my research into which film festivals are most likely to pick my kind of film, and which film festivals are coming up soon and sort of around next year as well, so yeah. So that is how I made and directed my first independent film. I hope this helped guide you in some way, and I really hope it inspired you to make your own stories. My main piece of advice though, for any upcoming short filmmaker like myself, is to hold on to the idea that you really want to make, and wait until you found the right crew to make it with. Also, make sure you save up for it, because filmmaking is not cheap.